Everything we thought we knew shatters in the summer I turned pretty. Season 3, Episode 8. Love is no longer innocent. Promises no longer matter. And Belly, caught between Conrad and Jeremiah, faces the moment where every choice, every denial, every lie comes back to destroy everything. This is not just a finale. This is the breaking point, the place where love, loyalty, and family bonds collapse under the weight of one girl's indecision. And the question haunting us all, when the dust settles, will Belly end up with the boy she has always loved, or will she lose both of them forever? Episode 8 begins where everything left off, in chaos. Belly is standing at the center of a storm that she herself created. Her heart is split in two, her choices blurred by fear, and her desperation to be loved threatens to destroy not just her own happiness, but the bond between two brothers who once trusted each other with everything. The confession from Conrad still hangs in the air, heavy and unavoidable. He admitted what Belly always wanted to hear, that his love for her never ended, that no matter how much time has passed, she has always been the one. These words should have been her dream, the ending she imagined as a child. But instead, they rip her apart. Because now, she is no longer the girl waiting for Conrad's love. Now, she is Jeremiah's fiancée. She is tied to promises, expectations, and a future she has already spoken into existence. And in this moment, the truth becomes unbearable. The problem is that Belly cannot silence her heart. No matter how tightly she clings to Jeremiah, Conrad's voice echoes louder. Every look, every memory, every unspoken word between them refuses to die. And Jeremiah feels it too. His insecurities, his fears of always being second best, have never been more alive. He knows that Belly still carries Conrad inside her, no matter how much she denies it. In Episode 8, these insecurities will burst open, unraveling everything they have tried to build together. Jeremiah is no longer willing to be the shadow. No longer willing to be the one she chooses out of safety rather than love, and Belly, blinded by her own confusion, refuses to face this truth. She convinces herself that the wedding will fix everything. That standing in front of her friends and family, saying vows, and sealing her future with Jeremiah will erase Conrad from her heart once and for all. But deep down, she knows that no ceremony, no promises, no ring can ever silence what she feels. And this is the tragedy. Because by clinging to Jeremiah while still loving Conrad, she is not just breaking her own heart, she is tearing apart the bond that has held the Fisher family together since the beginning. The finale raises a painful question: is Belly really choosing love, or is she choosing fear? Fear of being alone, fear of admitting she made the wrong decision, fear of confronting the truth that Conrad is the one she has always wanted. Jeremiah deserves honesty. Conrad deserves peace. But Belly, trapped in her desperation to hold on, gives neither. And this is why Episode 8 feels like an explosion waiting to happen. Every word, every confrontation, every silence carries the weight of betrayal. The brothers who once stood side by side are now preparing for war, and Belly is the reason. Why? The time this episode unfolds, nothing will be the same. Jeremiah's patience has run out. Conrad's quiet strength is cracking. And Belly, for all her tears and confusion, will be forced to face what she has been running from since the beginning, that her choices have consequences far beyond her control. And those consequences will burn everything to the ground, but the real storm begins when secrets that were buried deep finally start to rise to the surface. The finale wastes no time in tearing down the fragile walls that Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah had tried to build around themselves. Every word spoken, every glance exchanged feels like it carries the weight of years of unresolved emotions. And in this tangled web, no one walks away untouched. What makes this moment so powerful is not just the love triangle, it's the way the truth claws its way out, leaving scars that can't be hidden anymore. Belly, who thought she had finally reached clarity, finds herself trapped again in a whirlwind of guilt and longing. Her heart aches in one direction, but her promises tie her to another. And this is where her world begins to shatter. The finale doesn't paint her as the perfect heroine, it strips her bare, forcing the audience to see her flaws, her indecision, and the chaos her choices bring. She's not just a girl in love. She's a girl torn apart by love, and that's what makes her story so painfully real. Conrad, usually the master of restraint, can no longer hide the storm raging inside him. His silence, once a shield, cracks open in the most vulnerable way. Every suppressed emotion bursts out, and for the first time, we see him at war with himself. He can't let go of Belly, but he can't stand the idea of losing his brother either. The finale throws him into a cruel paradox: love and loyalty, pulling him in opposite directions, and no matter which path he takes, someone will bleed. This is where Conrad's character reaches a breaking point, a moment that fans had feared but also craved. Jeremiah, on the other hand, isn't spared either. For so long, he's been the warm, safe choice, the one who offered Belly comfort when the world felt too heavy. But even he can't escape the shadows of jealousy and insecurity. The finale forces Jeremiah to confront a reality he's tried to ignore, that love built on fear of losing isn't love at all. His anger simmers, his vulnerability spills, and suddenly the golden boy doesn't seem so untouchable anymore. The cracks in Jeremiah's heart are laid bare, and his desperation threatens to consume him, and then comes the most haunting realization: the choices made in this finale don't just affect Belly, Conrad, or Jeremiah. They ripple outward, shattering friendships, trust, and even the fragile bonds holding the Fisher family together. The beach house that once symbolized endless summers and innocent love now feels like a battlefield, every memory tainted by betrayal and heartbreak. What used to be a safe haven now carries the scent of endings, and the audience feels that loss deeply. The beauty of this finale lies in its cruelty. It doesn't give anyone the perfect ending. Instead, it drags the characters through fire, making them confront the wreckage of their actions. And as painful as it is to watch, it's impossible to look away. Because in that pain lies the truth: love is not simple, it's messy, it's brutal, and it demands sacrifices that leave scars. The finale doesn't shy away from showing that reality, and that's why it hits harder than any previous episode. By the end of this section, you realize something chilling: the characters you thought you knew have changed forever. Belly is no longer just the girl caught between two brothers. Conrad is no longer the boy hiding behind his silence. Jeremiah is no longer the safe choice in the shadows. They've all been pushed into a place where innocence dies and harsh truths reign. And that transformation is what makes this finale unforgettable. But just when the dust seemed ready to settle, the finale ripped open wounds that no one expected. Belly, standing between two brothers, was forced into a moment of truth that shattered every illusion of safety she had left. The heart wants what it wants, but the finale made it painfully clear that desire can be as destructive as it is beautiful. Jeremiah's heartbreak became the backdrop of the episode, not because Belly chose him or rejected him outright, but because his entire world was shaken by the realization that he might always come second. The way he looked at her, torn between hope and despair, painted the entire episode in shades of tragedy. And Belly, caught in the storm, couldn't find her way out without destroying someone she loved. The finale didn't just close the love triangle, it twisted it into something raw and messy. Jeremiah's vulnerability was laid bare, while Conrad's unspoken emotions burned silently in the background. The tension was unbearable, because for the first time, the series showed that love is not always about who wins, but about who survives the damage it leaves behind. Jeremiah's confession was heartfelt, his plea desperate, but there was a haunting finality in the air, the kind that whispers that no matter what is said, nothing will ever be the same. Belly's silence was louder than any declaration. And her hesitation was like a dagger. It wasn't about whether she loved Jeremiah, it was about whether she could live with the cost of breaking someone else, and this is where the finale struck its cruelest blow. The brothers weren't just fighting for Belly's heart anymore, they were fighting for their own identities, for their place in her world, for proof that they mattered. Conrad's quiet strength clashed with Jeremiah's fiery passion, and Belly became the fragile thread holding it all together. The audience was left questioning whether love can ever be pure when it is drenched in so much pain. Jeremiah's tears weren't just about rejection, they were about betrayal, about years of believing he was finally enough, only to realize he might have been a temporary stop in Belly's journey towards someone else. But the most shocking part of the finale wasn't just Jeremiah's pain, it was how Belly reacted. Instead of giving clear answers, she left the moment dangling like a knife above everyone's head. That uncertainty was the true twist, the cliffhanger that broke viewers' hearts. Because what hurts more than rejection is not knowing where you stand, and that's exactly the torment the finale gifted its audience. In that silence, in that hesitation, every dream Jeremiah held close began to crumble. And as the credits rolled, the show forced us to ask the cruelest question of all: did Belly ever truly know what she wanted, or was she destined to leave nothing but heartbreak in her wake? If the last episode has taught us anything, it is that no choice comes without a cost, and for Belly, the weight of her decisions presses harder than ever. Just when it seems that clarity might finally arrive, new twists emerge, throwing her world back into chaos. The finale doesn't offer her an easy way out, it corners her, forcing her to confront the depth of her heart and the consequences of her silence. This is not just about choosing Conrad or Jeremiah anymore, this is about the girl Belly has become and the price she's willing to pay for following her truth. The Summer I Turned Pretty doesn't hand out happy endings like wrapped gifts, it makes its characters fight for them, bleed for them, and sometimes, lose them altogether. The storm really begins when the ripple effects of Belly's actions crash into the people around her. Jeremiah, who has given so much of himself, faces a shattering reality when he realizes that his love may not be enough to erase the shadows of the past. His devotion has been unwavering, his promises endless, but the finale tears away the comfort he thought he had secured. The tension builds as his insecurities and fears finally surface, and the boy who once seemed unshakable begins to crumble. His heartbreak feels raw, and it pushes the story into darker territory, because when love is questioned, trust is broken, and nothing feels certain anymore. And then there is Conrad. Throughout the season, he has been painted as the storm, moody, unpredictable, hard to read. But in the finale, we see a shift. His pain, once buried beneath silence and cold stares, bursts into the open. He's no longer hiding behind distance, he's fighting, clawing to prove that his love is not only real but eternal. His confrontation with Belly is electric, a clash of pride, regret, and longing. Every word feels like a wound, every pause like a dagger. And for the audience, it's impossible not to feel torn, because Conrad's love is messy, flawed, but undeniably powerful. The family tension doesn't fade either, it only intensifies. Laurel, Belly's mother, senses the storm spiraling beyond control, but even she cannot shield her daughter from the chaos of her own choices. Stephen, too, becomes a voice of reason, though his words are met with resistance. He tries to anchor Belly, but how do you ground someone whose heart is in freefall? The house that once stood for comfort and summer memories now feels like a battleground of emotions, every room echoing with arguments, confessions, and tears, but the real dagger comes in the form of truth, a truth Belly has been running from. But one she cannot escape in the finale. The writers push her to face the consequences of silence, hesitation, and the tangled web she has spun around herself and the Fisher brothers. And when that truth is finally spoken aloud, it doesn't just break Jeremiah, and it doesn't just wound Conrad, it shatters Belly herself. Because love, as beautiful as it is, can also destroy, and in this finale, destruction is as present as desire. This section of the finale is all about stripping away illusions. The audience is left asking, is Belly the victim of her circumstances? Or has she become the architect of this heartbreak? The beauty of the writing lies in its refusal to give us easy answers. Instead, it drags us into the mess with her, forcing us to feel every ounce of confusion, guilt, and longing. It is both captivating and agonizing, and it ensures that the finale is not just another love triangle drama, it's a raw, emotional warzone. Just when you think the storm has finally passed, the finale refuses to slow down. It throws another emotional twist that leaves everyone questioning what forever really means. Belly's decision in the earlier scenes might have created a temporary sense of closure, but now, in the silence that follows, regret begins to creep in. It's that kind of regret you don't feel right away, like a delayed thunder after lightning, but once it hits, it shakes everything. And Belly isn't the only one struggling. Conrad, despite his strong front, cannot hide the flickers of pain that slip through his calm mask. His silence says more than any words could. And Jeremiah, for all his open affection, finds himself cornered by a truth he can no longer ignore. Love cannot exist on promises alone. It must stand the test of doubt, mistakes, and heartbreak. The episode makes it painfully clear that no matter how deeply the characters love one another, timing has always been their greatest enemy. Every glance, every pause, every hesitation in this finale screams that love came at the wrong time. And that's what makes the finale so cruel and unforgettable. It forces you to imagine what could have been if things had unfolded differently. It's as though fate played a cruel trick, dangling happiness right in front of them, only to snatch it away in the very moment they reached out for it. Belly becomes the symbol of this unfinished story, standing between two lives she cannot fully claim, two hearts she cannot completely protect. Her choices have weight, and the echoes of those choices will not fade with the season's end. They will carry into the future, lingering like shadows that follow her wherever she goes. But the finale does something unexpected, it shifts focus from romantic love to something deeper. It reminds us that heartbreak is not the end of the world. It's the beginning of transformation. We see Belly realizing that love, as intoxicating as it is, cannot be her entire identity. She must grow, she must breathe on her own, and she must step outside the walls of Cousins Beach to discover who she truly is. This revelation is heartbreaking yet empowering. It's the painful truth of growing up, that sometimes the people you love the most cannot be the ones who carry you into the future. The finale uses this bittersweet lesson to pierce right into the audience's heart, leaving us both devastated and strangely hopeful, and that's why this episode feels like more than just a finale, it feels like a reckoning. Every character, is left raw, exposed, and vulnerable, as if stripped of every mask they've ever worn. The heartbreak is not neatly tied up with a bow. Instead, it hangs in the air, unresolved, daring us to imagine what happens next. Will Belly and Conrad ever find their way back to each other? Will Jeremiah's heart heal, or will he carry the scars forever? And most importantly, will Belly learn to stop searching for herself in the reflection of others and finally stand as her own person? These are not questions that the finale answers, but ones it plants deep within us, ensuring we carry the story long after the credits roll. But just when it seems the dust has finally settled, the finale throws a shocking curveball no one saw coming. A quiet conversation, a hidden glance, and a few carefully chosen words open the door to a new storm that could change everything once again. Belly thought she had finally broken free from the cycle of indecision, but the past has a cruel way of haunting those who try to escape it. The truth is, no choice in Cousins is ever final, and no heart here is ever safe from being broken again. The most jaw-dropping moment isn't the proposal, the heartbreak, or the confessions, it's the possibility that this love triangle might not be ending at all, but instead transforming into something even more complicated. The writers left us dangling, questioning everything. Did Belly truly pick the right person, or did she once again act on impulse, blinded by emotion instead of grounded in reality? The way the camera lingered, the way the silence stretched, this wasn't closure. It was a warning. A warning that the story is far from over, and in that silence, fans could feel the weight of what's coming. The finale made one thing painfully clear: this is no longer a sweet summer love story. It's a battlefield, and every character is carrying their own scars into the next season. Jeremiah's wounds are raw, Conrad's hope is fragile, and Belly's choices have consequences that will echo far beyond Cousins Beach. Nothing is safe. Not friendships, not promises, not even love itself. And that's exactly what makes this ending so unforgettable. It wasn't about tying loose ends neatly, it was about tearing them open in a way that guarantees we'll all come back, desperate for answers. The final moments of episode 8 weren't meant to comfort us. They were designed to unsettle us. To leave us restless, replaying every word and glance in our minds. And it worked. The Summer I Turned Pretty has officially crossed into dangerous territory, where love is no longer just about sweet kisses and summer nights, it's about survival, heartbreak, and the terrifying uncertainty of what lies ahead. The silence after the credits rolled wasn't just silence, it was the kind of emptiness that presses on your chest, leaving you stunned and searching for air. Season 3 of The Summer I Turned Pretty didn't just give us a finale, it delivered a storm that wrecked the calm waters fans thought they knew. And now, as we stand in the aftermath of episode 8, one thing is clear: nothing will ever be the same for Belly, Conrad, Jeremiah, or anyone tangled in their world of love, pain, and impossible choices. Let's unravel this finale in slow motion, piece by piece, because every word, every look, every decision carried weight far heavier than we could have imagined. From the very first frame, the finale warned us it would not play safe. We saw the tension that had been building throughout the season erupt like a volcano that could no longer contain its fire. Belly stood at the center of it all, caught between two brothers who loved her in ways so different, yet so consuming. Conrad's quiet, stormy devotion pulled at her heart, while Jeremiah's steady, open affection promised her stability. But how do you choose between the history that made you who you are and the future that promises you peace? That was the impossible decision laid at Belly's feet, and it shattered her, just as it shattered us. The finale thrived on contrasts. One moment, Belly looked at Conrad and saw years of memories, moments stitched with laughter, tears, and the bittersweet bond of first love. In another, Jeremiah's hand in hers reminded her of a love without hidden corners, a love that asked her to stay in the present, not in the shadow of what could have been. And as the audience, we felt the tug-of-war in her soul, the ache of remembering and the fear of letting go. But the brilliance of this episode wasn't just in the romance. It was in the way it mirrored real life, how choices never come cleanly, how love is rarely enough on its own, and how endings can feel both cruel and necessary at the same time. The writers didn't give us a glossy fairy tale, they gave us heartbreak disguised as truth. And maybe that's why it stung so much. Jeremiah's vulnerability was impossible to ignore. He poured his heart out, stripping away every layer of bravado to show Belly the rawest version of himself. There was no shield, no hidden agenda, just a boy terrified of losing the girl he believed could be his forever. And yet, Conrad's silence was louder than any confession. His eyes carried a weight that words could never capture, the weight of knowing he loved her too deeply to stand in her way, even if it meant losing her. It was that sacrifice, that silent surrender, that cut the deepest. The finale also shattered illusions we had built over the season. For weeks, fans debated, argued, and clung to theories about who Belly would end up with. Some swore it had to be Conrad, others believed Jeremiah was her destiny. But what episode 8 revealed is that destiny isn't about perfect matches. It's about choices, and choices always come with consequences. Belly's final decision wasn't about picking the better brother. It was about facing herself, confronting the girl she had been and the woman she was becoming, and in that final confrontation, we saw something groundbreaking. Belly didn't simply fall into love, she claimed it. She chose it. That act of choosing, with all its risks, with all its pain, was what made the finale unforgettable. The heartbreak didn't stop there. The brothers, once inseparable, now stood fractured. Jeremiah's hopeful eyes clouded with uncertainty. Conrad's quiet retreat left an ache in the room. The bond that once tied them together now threatened to unravel completely. And here's the truth that makes this finale so devastating: the show wasn't just about who Belly would choose. It was about how love, no matter how beautiful, can tear families apart, and yet, in the quiet moments, there was beauty. The way Belly's voice cracked when she finally admitted what her heart had known all along. The way Jeremiah tried to smile through his pain. The way Conrad, despite every reason to fight, let go because he believed it was best for her. These weren't just scenes on a screen. They were mirrors of every goodbye, every heartbreak, every choice we've ever made between what we want and what we need. But let's not forget the brilliance of the writing, how every callback, every subtle reference to past seasons wove into this finale like threads of a tapestry. The beach, the memories, the small details that seemed insignificant earlier, all came rushing back, reminding us that love stories aren't just about beginnings. They're about endings, too. And sometimes endings hurt more than we expect. The finale left us with questions that will haunt us until season 4. Can Conrad truly move on after watching Belly choose someone else? Will Jeremiah's love hold strong when tested by the shadow of Conrad's presence in Belly's heart? And most of all, can Belly live with the weight of her decision, knowing one brother's happiness came at the cost of the other's heartbreak? These aren't just plot points. They are the essence of human love, and loss is messy, complicated, and impossibly real. What makes this finale unforgettable is its refusal to give us clean answers. We wanted closure. Instead, we got cracks, fractures, and the sting of reality. We wanted Belly's choice to feel like a victory. Instead, it felt like a sacrifice. And maybe that's the most honest thing the show has ever given us, because love isn't about winning. It's about risking everything, knowing you might lose. It's about holding on while also learning when to let go. It's about realizing that sometimes, the heart doesn't get to have everything it wants. As the screen faded to black, we were left with the lingering weight of it all, the silence after the storm, the ache of endings, and the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, healing is still possible, and that's why this finale will be remembered. Not for who ended up with whom, but for the way it dared to break us, the way it forced us to look at love without filters, and the way it left us craving answers we might never get. The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 Episode 8 wasn't just an ending. It was a reminder that love is both beautiful and brutal, that choices are both freeing and binding, and that sometimes the most painful stories are the ones we remember the longest. This finale will live on in the minds of fans. Not because it tied everything neatly, but because it refused to. It dared to be messy. It dared to hurt. And in doing so, it became unforgettable. That, my friends, was the jaw-dropping breakdown of Season 3's finale, a chapter that closed with heartbreak but left the door wide open for more storms, more healing, and more unforgettable moments when the story continues.